Good morning, dear people. Welcome to the Mystic Lotus awesome Love and Health Telesummit. It is with great pleasure that we introduce to you today someone who is an integrative medical health professional with a comprehensive and profound understanding of the human essence, mind, and body and their workings as a unified whole. She has trained as a conventional medical physician and in a variety of complementary modalities, including acupuncture, complex homeopathy, principles of Ayurveda, herbs, and nutrition. Joining us all the way from Istanbul today with the one program for immune system problems and cancer reversal is the amazing Dr. Sangeeta Sahi. Good morning, Dr. Sangeeta, and welcome in.
Hi, Nilu. Thank you so much. That was a really beautiful introduction. How are you today?
Very well. And how are you? I know it's really early in the morning where you are right now.
Actually, not so early, Nilu. It's about 9:15. It's not so bad, but it's cold.
It's cold. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, of course, Dr. Sangeeta, an absolute delight to have you here. And, straight off the bat, why cancer of all things, Dr. Sangeeta? What made you want to go down that road?
Actually, Nilu, I don't think honestly that we choose. I think life chooses us. So it happened very organically. It wasn't something that I consciously went out and said, yes, I'm going to work with this. I've been working with all sorts of physical diseases from actually from all of my life. But I've been working right since I was a medical student and probably even younger. I come from 4 generations of medical doctors. So when I was in med school, there was some pretty interesting, kind of not really understandable spiritual experiences I was having with a lot of my patients there in clinical years who were, when we were working with each other or they were talking to me, they were going through spontaneous healings, what we call today spontaneous healings. So I was very, very interested in kind of understanding what was going on. So after I finished my medical degree, I started working with some very, very beautiful and very advanced spiritual teachers. And these were from different parts of the world. They were from India, they were from America, they were from Europe. And I had many, many of my own very profound spiritual experiences, which actually I realized I'd been having since I was a teenager, but did not really understand what they were, and therefore wanted to understand them on a deeper level. So that was very interesting because the spiritual teachers obviously were working within a structure and a framework, which was, I think, very important and valuable.
Dr. Sangeeta, so sorry to interrupt. If you could just be a little bit louder, your voice sometimes tends to come and go. Just a little bit louder, please. Thank you.
Sure, of course. So
yes.
So basically, after I finished med school, I went to work with some very advanced spiritual teachers, and I learned a lot. I experienced many, many things, and then I went back to the States, to America, and I was working with quantum physicists there, and with biophysicists in the UK, and that's where I grew up. I actually grew up in London. But I was born in Delhi, so I'm of Punjabi Indian origin. And when I was working with the quantum physicists, it was very good because there was a framework, a reference of the model of quantum physics, which is a theoretical model. It's not, it's not a proven model, but a theory, however limited it is right now, corroborates more with spiritual principles and spirituality as a whole. So through that, we were looking constantly, because me coming from a medical background, I was very interested in the origin of disease states. So I was very interested in how does disease originate from a quantum level, and why does disease come up in certain people and not in other people, despite the fact that they may be living in similar conditions and from a similar background. So I did a lot of work on that, and then I came back to England and I learned something called PNEI. It's psychoneuroendocrinoimmunology. And that basically translated is the effect of our thoughts on our nervous system, our endocrine system, and our immune system. And it's a real kind of scientific biochemical axis of how thoughts create changes in our biochemistry directly. So how if we think certain things, if we have certain moods, if we have certain responses and reactions to the environment and to people and relationships, how that has an effect on the cells pretty immediately through our biochemistry. So what I did with that, I added on top another layer of consciousness. So for me, it's like consciousness affects thoughts, which then go on and affect the physical, the emotional and the physical. So I had a very good idea of how this axis works, and I'd been working a lot with diseases anyway, but from a spiritual and a sort of scientific or theoretical scientific approach anyway. And obviously that made me far more acceptable in scientific communities all over the world, in the West especially, but also in Asia and in India and the Middle East. So I was traveling a lot and teaching, and through that I got to work with very directly many diverse cultures, many people from different backgrounds, different socio-cultural backgrounds, different socioeconomic states, and different consciousness levels, or different beliefs, different nutritional styles, different lifestyles, all sorts of things. And through that, I think it started about, I would say around 2008, 2009, when I started really seeing an influx of people coming to me with immune system problems and with cancer, especially. Because I think that's when there's always been cancer, but there was like a real understanding of, oh my God, we're going into an epidemic of cancer now. And I had more and more people coming to me because they couldn't find the sort of solutions that they were looking for in mainstream medicine. And they knew that I'm a medical doctor, as well as I've got a background in understanding of complementary therapies, which I think are actually not complementary. I think they're the original therapies. And I think actually Western medicine is a complementary, if you like, because it's kind of added on. But anyway, that's a different discussion. So in that journey too, my father, he's a medical doctor too. He was diagnosed with a malignant tumor in his intestine, and I knew I was completely equipped to be able to help him, but he didn't want it and he didn't ask for it. And I'll tell you, on an emotional point of view, that made me very, very angry. So I found it very difficult to even go and visit him in hospital. But thank God it was a single tumor that was completely taken care of. It was intercepted through surgery. He didn't need chemo, he didn't need radiation, thank God. So it was all under control. And that's how, within the family, I also realized what happens to relationships, what happens to people who are undergoing, having something like cancer, and also how it affects, our extended family and relatives and friends, etc. So I got first-hand experience myself personally, as well as with group and community interactions, what actually happens. And then towards the end of summer of 2014, I just want people to understand this is kind of like my life's work. So, boom, 2014, I'm actually just lying in bed in London, and 5 o'clock in the morning, I wake up, and believe me, this is absolutely real. There's like this just huge download, and I run to my study, and basically I write down a whole 13-step program. And there and then, the next day, I was told to name it conscious cancer, and it was registered under the name conscious cancer. And throughout that summer, I worked on this program, created it, got the scientific validation and theories and all of that research done, which was already done anyway. It just had to be put into a kind of formal structure. And by the beginning of 2015, actually started in November 2014, it was produced and ready for release in 2015 into a proper audio online program that is now, we're going to talk about, I guess, today, which can be purchased from my website directly. So that's kind of been the journey. And as I said, it's been, and I'm going to explain this further when we go a little bit deeper into a little bit of knowledge, I guess, which I hope we will discuss, which is a background to a lot of health and disease that is coming up, especially immune system related problems, which are coming up these days quite consistently. So that's been my journey. Sorry it's taken so long to explain, but you kind of got a bit of background to me as well.
Thank you so much, for sharing that with us, and thank you for sharing the story about your father as well, because I remember, Dr. Sangeeta, you saying that cancer, it's the teacher of all teachers. That's what you say, right?
Absolutely. And you know what? I'll tell you on some level, it's taught me professionally and personally so much about life. And that's why I'm really enjoy looking at and observing people and working with people with cancer. I know it sounds weird, but it really is the teacher of all teachers. Why do I say this? Because it actually forces the individual and their group to look and assess, reassess every single thing and every facet of their life, right from the physical, lifestyle, to emotional, to relationships, to the past, to the future, and especially through the present. And then through cancer and the study of it from different points of view and different facets, I began to really understand a lot more about viruses, about not just how they operate, but also what they are on a more cosmic level. Did you know, Neelu, that viruses are not indigenous to our planet? They actually come from space.
Really? I did not know that. I did not know that at all.
Exactly. They are not indigenous to our planet. They come from space, and they are basically, viruses are just little packets of DNA, genetic material. So they either are DNA or they are RNA, which is basically genetic material. Genetic material is information. It's information through which our cells then start operating. So a lot of scientists now who are thinking outside of the box are looking at viruses, and I agree with them. They actually are saying that viruses are a key to physical evolution for human beings, because they are packets of information coming from outer space, and they engraft. When we get a sort of viral infection, it's sort of like an injection into our cells of new information coming from outside our own Earth, outside our own planet. And that then starts a process in the body that allows the body to start its own cellular mutation. So on one level, this is very, very interesting if you look at it from an evolutionary perspective, rather than just from a normal kind of medical fear-based perspective. So cancer is a very interesting multidimensional disease.
Right.
So I love it. It really is a teacher of all teachers. And it's a teacher of all teachers, not just for the person undergoing it, but for the whole medical and scientific community as well. And also for the artistic and creative communities, because there are more and more people that I meet that want to connect with me because they are very interested, even from a creative perspective, of cancer and diseases in general, because they see their own families affected too. So it's very interesting. Cancer generally is very interesting.
Right. And for those who might have missed it, I'm just going to repeat, Dr. Sangeeta, what you mentioned, that a little known fact we don't know, just got to know from you right now, that virus is not indigenous to our planet, and it actually comes from space, and they're packets of DNA, and therefore quite literally the key to physical evolution for human beings, because when a virus enters your body then tries to figure out how to fight it and evolves around it. Did I get that correct?
You got it perfectly. It's not
Right.
the key, but it's definitely being looked at as a possible key to physical evolution, especially.
Right. And I'm going to this is very interesting, of course, Dr. Sangeeta, and I'm sure there could be this huge conversation around this itself. But I'm just going to go back to two things that you mentioned. You mentioned the Conscious Cancer Program, which we will be coming to very soon. But right at the beginning, you mentioned that our thoughts affect our nervous system, our endocrine system, our biochemistry. It affects our cells, okay? And then, therefore, Dr. Sangeeta, as far as, say, cancer or immune system problems are concerned, what is the problem actually? Because it can't just be the thoughts that have converted everything into a cancerous cell, can it? There must be other things involved.
Absolutely. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to take you one step back.
Yes.
I want to discuss what kind of spiritual means, because many people, when I come across, a lot of people don't really understand. They kind of see it as something, but they don't really understand what it is. So I just want to clear this up, because it's the basis of everything. Spiritual actually is everything. All spiritual dimensions, if you like, encompass everything. They encompass all our solar systems, they encompass our bodies, they encompass our planet. It's everything is spiritual. Spiritual, in the way that we use it, basically means anything that seems to be non-material. But actually, the material is completely embedded within the spiritual, because the spiritual is made up of different densities. So when we talk about light, everything is light, but light in the physical form, in matter, it has a different density to, say, light that we refer to as spiritual light or divine light or whatever. It just has a different density relative to us living in the world, in the physical world. So I just want to clear that up. So in all the books, in all the teachings, right from the Vedas to Buddhism, to the religions of, Judaism, Islam, Christianity, there is no separation between spiritual and matter. None. The only thing that separates these two is our stressed and distorted awareness. And these distortions are basically distortions within our own inner software. So if you can imagine that our bodies are a hardware of a computer system, actually younger people get this. When I use this analogy, they get it very quickly.
Right.
And our inner, if you like, what we call as soul information or spiritual information is the software.
Right.
Now, what happened is the planet, our home, has changed. It is like a spaceship. It is constantly moving in space. People do not realize or see it in this way, but our planet is actually a spaceship. All the planets are. They're not sticking and sitting in one place in space. And what's happened is, through the last 50-odd years, our planet it's constantly moving, but it's been tangible. The changes, physical changes on our planet have been really tangible in the last 50-odd years, and especially in the last, let's say, 10 to 15 years. So what's happened is that the vibration and the density on our planet has shifted, which means that the physical human beings and animals and plants, they are also shifting. And we haven't quite yet, as a human species, we're still trying to catch up because we're still living in the past. Our minds and our conditioning, which is why people are nowadays, especially in the spiritual realms and New Age realms and even in scientific realms, people are talking more and more about, the mind and how the mind lives in the past and how we all need to be in the present, in the moment, how we need to clear out old conditionings, old belief systems, old memories. And actually what I find with my patients, with my clients, is that the body is actually shifting faster than the mind. So matter is moving and evolving much faster than the mind, our minds. Why, Nilu? This is really important. Because our bodies live on this planet. Our bodies are connected to this planet, and this planet is always living in the now. It's living in the present. So if we are to stay and live on this planet, our bodies need to be in the now. So what's happening is our bodies are in the now, i.e. matter is in the now, but our software is in the past. Does that make sense?
Yes, kind of. As you mentioned, I mean, it's. Please go ahead, because I do have a question that's coming to my mind, but I will wait for you to finish.
Okay, so basically, what we need to do is bring our minds into the present moment. And what happens is when there is this gap, this is the distorted awareness that I was talking about. That when we have this gap between our matter, our physical bodies, and our minds, which is living in the past, this is the room where our immune systems start reacting. Because our immune systems are actually processing knowledge, information from our present life and from how we live today in the now. And then when there is a barrage from the mind saying, no, but it should be like this and it should be like that, and that's not really correct, and oh my God, the mind is freaking out and feeling like it's dying. It's no longer useful. And I've been, keeping up with all the talks that you've been doing, the speakers on Mystic Lotus, and obviously there is this big wave, and it's not just now, but also with other groups in the world too, of people are afraid of death, and they're grieving, and they're going through all these processes, and it's basically because, Nilu, the mind is dying. The old mind is dying. Not because we're dying. It's actually the old thought patterns are just naturally being deleted. And with those memories are our emotions connected to those memories. And therefore, people are feeling like they're unhappy, they're crying more, they're grieving, but actually, they're just grieving for a lost memory. They're not actually grieving. It's like in Hinduism, they always talk about it being an illusion and Maya. It's an illusion because it's something that doesn't exist anymore. So the grief is like a release and allows the emotional body and our emotional software to come back into the now and be present in the present time.
Right. So, Dr. Sangeeta, that's a very interesting point of view, a very almost holistic way of looking at this. But I would like to ask, what does the old software or the old mind dying, what does that have to do with cancer?
Very simply, cancer is basically people get cancer. There are many, many factors, and nobody knows why. The only thing that everybody knows is that a person's immune system has been compromised once they've been kind of diagnosed, let's say, with cancer. So what does cancer actually mean? Cancer is when there is an overgrowth of mutated cells relative to the healthy cells. So it's like the mutated cells, our healthy cells in our body, through certain influences, and nobody really knows what those influences are, Neelu. That's a fact. There are many, many theories, but nobody really knows why cells are mutating. But definitely we know that it has an inner environment, i.e. the inner biochemistry of an individual's body, as well as an outer environmental influence. So whether that's a virus, whether that's environmental toxins, whether that's just reactions from environmental stimuli such as relationships, which create stress, which then create the biochemistry internally to change, that creates stress that causes cells to mutate. Now, these mutated cells are actually our own cells, which are just changing form. They're nothing outside of us. They've just been instigated, provoked, and they're changing their shape and they're changing their chemistry. Now, if our healthy cells can manage to live with the mutated cells in a balanced way and heal and take care of those mutated cells, then actually people don't really go through very, very severe symptoms of cancer because their body can manage it. But those people who cannot manage and the mutated cells take over and their secretions are different from the healthy cells, then they go into conflict. And it's like an internal war. So what's actually happening with people who have cancer that I've seen is that there is an internal conflict of you've got the mutated cells fighting with the healthy cells. And so it's kind of like competition. Who's going to win? And the whole of Western medicine focuses on cancer as a fight. It's a fight. And you know what? We're going to win this fight. And actually, it's not a fight. Because it's your own cells. These are not cells from somewhere else. They're your own cells in your own body. They're just changing. So instead of taking care and looking after them and helping them to get through, and actually this is an evolution process for our healthy cells too. Because through this conflict and through this change, the healthy cells get stronger. They learn new things. They learn adaptive processes. And we physically evolve. So I do not, the whole basis of the Conscious Cancer Program, it's based on peace and serenity. The whole program is downloaded with frequencies of peace and serenity because it's only through peace.
I'm so sorry, Dr. Sangeeta. I lost you at downloaded.
Yeah, so the whole Conscious Cancer Program is downloaded with solid energies of peace and serenity. The basis of the Conscious Cancer Program is peace. Because the background of our bodies, of our lives, has to be peace. And through that peace, we evolve, and we evolve in a very healthy and gradual and controlled way, guided way, rather than in a haphazard, chaotic, unsupervised way. Does that make sense?
Yes, of course. And for anybody who is able to join in maybe a little later and might have missed any bit of the conversation, Dr. Sangeeta, I'm going to go back to a question again. As you just said right now, nobody really knows why this happens. Nobody really knows the exact reasons for these cells mutating. There are, of course, external factors. As you said, there's stress, there's anxiety. In all the talks that we've been having with people in the earlier calls as well, anything from depression to stress, anxiety, frustration, anger, they all affect us internally and somehow maybe somewhere end up being a contributing factor to a cancer growing, but not necessarily so. Would I be right in saying that?
You would, Neely, but there's something I'd like to add to that as well, please.
Yes.
And this is really important right now. The reason that I mentioned the changes on the planet, it was very important and very relevant because the planet has changed its frequency, which means that people who are still carrying heavy energies of fear, of guilt, of jealousy, of avarice, of covetousness, greediness, all those things, they are going to have a hard time living on the planet as it is right now. So what's actually happening on a mass level is we are being forced to release some of these denser energies and denser feelings automatically in order for us to live here on this planet now. Because we are changing as a species, that the planet is evolving, it's gone into a different cycle of life. And in order to stay, that's why I realize when I observe, not just with my clients, but also scientifically, that people who are more prone and more susceptible to fear and kind of denser feelings, they are having more problems. So actually, the focus I also realized is the emotional body. Because if we can release and purify the emotional body, then we can actually, the physical body is already ready to be here. This is really important right now. It's so important on a kind of global level. And this is not something that it's just me that's observed. Many, many people that I've connected with are observing the same things, that it's a time that people must release their fears, their doubts, their kind of survival consciousness and lack consciousness and come into thriving and really, blooming and blossoming consciousness. It's
Right.
very important.
Right. Right. So, Dr. Sangeeta, even if, as you've said, and as you so nicely explained, from a very different perspective, from a very holistic view, uh, even if the cause is not really clear, is there therefore then a solution? What can be done? You have mentioned right now, people with the more denser energies will have a tougher time, but is there a solution? Is there a solution to all of this, irrespective of what the cause is?
Of course, there's always solutions, Lily. It's
What can be
really,
done?
really easy right now. Okay, I'll tell you what I've been observing. Cancer is an incredibly uh, complex circumstance, let's say. I don't really
Right.
want to call it a disease because I don't think of it as a disease. It's a situational circumstance, and it's complex. And it's complex because it's actually a reflection, a direct reflection of the complexity of of that individual who's experiencing it. So it's complex, but actually the solution and the key is very, very simple. I know this sounds paradoxical, but that's actually the reality. Anything that is quite complex, its solution is very simple. And the simple solutions in most cases, not every single case, but in most cases, is just actually to focus on the emotional and the physical together. Hence, I always work with natural remedies, either with homeopathics or with herbs or with supplements or with even flower essences. So, because these support the immune system. Now, our physical bodies just need support to get through this, because this is definitely affecting the physical, but it's actually releasing a lot of emotional stuff. And because everybody that has cancer that I have seen, they all have the first thing is their energy level goes down and they go into depression and they go into withdrawal mode. That's the first instinctive thing that they want to do. They literally withdraw from life.
Right.
And that's also a very instinctive mechanism for the physical body, because when the physical body needs to conserve energy, because it needs that energy for healing itself, it withdraws from life. But right now, it's the opposite, because life actually is full of incredible life energy. So what these people should actually be doing is the opposite. They should not be withdrawing. They should be reaching out and connecting up with different support systems and relationships. And that's where the emotional release and the emotional stuff comes up. Because suddenly they realize, as soon as they start connecting up with people, with their families, with everything, that, oh my God, the stress gets even worse. Why? Because there's a pressure to release the old emotions. And once the cells start releasing old emotions, they start releasing toxins. And when toxins start being released, the immune system can then start really helping the body to get better, to heal itself. And one of the biggest issues also that comes up in people who have cancer, in people generally actually, but people who have cancer, is trust. Big issue of trust. We do not trust our physical bodies. We do not trust life. And so trust issues come up. And these are all issues related to security. Feeling secure. Feeling secure about being here now. Feeling secure about that we can live and fulfill our dreams, our purpose, and to also understand that now we're not living to exist. We are existing. Now we're living to live fully our potential, not just to survive. And cancer teaches us all of this more than any other situational circumstance, in my opinion.
Right. I would definitely want to, given a very layman's perspective here, I'm happy to have a lot of teachers in life, but I don't think anybody would want to, deliberately have to go through this entire process. And you're very right when you mentioned, that people withdraw, they lose trust, they lose security. Is A lot of times it's difficult for them to reach out. They're down and out, and there is this lack of independence because you have to start depending on other people for things. It's a huge onslaught of emotions that you're feeling, and don't you need a little bit of cooling off period? Don't you need that little bit of time to be alone, and then either reach out or have somebody reaching out to you?
Look, this is very, very individual, Neeli. So I can't sit here and say, oh, there is this general thing, there is this, because believe
Right.
me, cancer has no standards. That's why
Right.
it's so interesting as well. It's an individual experience. It's an individual story, which is, the whole purpose of that Conscious Cancer program was to be able for the person working with it to actually start to realize their own story. And within that story, remember, our stories are not individual, actually. They are individual, but they're connected up with other people's stories. So, whether you want to call it karmic, whether you want to call it experiential, whether you want to call it straightening up of accounts and, balancing our hisab, whatever you want to call it. The point is that once you withdraw, then you go into your own mind. And that's generally what people do, Neeli. Generally, I'm saying. And then they start focusing on kind of all the stuff that happened. They go into self-criticism. They go into kind of destructive thoughts. And they start going into a downward spiral. And it's very interesting because I've used certain kind of herbs with people to get them out of this downward spiral. And now, not now, but a lot of kind of medical schools, Johns Hopkins is using psilocybin. Psilocybin comes from the lay term is magic mushrooms. It's the active ingredient of psilocybin, and they're using that for patients who have cancer and who are in deep depression, especially suicidal thoughts. They're using that as a way, and very high dosages, to get them out of their suicidal thoughts and depression. So what I'm saying is that that's where I use the herbs or the different homeopathics, because they really have a very beautiful, subtle effect on our subtle body system. And our emotions are actually very much connected to our subtle body system.
Right.
So we
Yes.
start to release from there.
Sorry?
So we start to release at that level.
Right.
Therefore, yes, people do go into that. But if they don't reach out and they don't say, well, you know what, actually, I need help, then you can't help them. If somebody doesn't come to me or doesn't contact me and say,
Right.
okay, you know what, there are solutions, but now I'm ready to access or to want to know about these solutions, how can you help? You know what I mean? So it's a collaboration. Cancer, that's the other thing about it. It opens up a person's self-responsibility. The first thing that I ask somebody when I meet them or whether I'm working with them online. I assess how much they really want to live, because that's
Right.
the ground level. People who have cancer, just the word cancer, believe me, when I say, oh, I'm doing a conscious cancer seminar or something like that, people just are like, oh my God, I don't want to know about it, because they have this weird superstitious belief that if they find out about it, they might get it. And then
Right.
everybody then, but fear is the thing that keeps us ignorant. It keeps us kind of always, in doubt, in anxiety. Because when you face things, when you open your mind and say, okay, what is this? That's where children are very great. They're curious, they're open. And you say, well, what is this? And then you find out what it actually is, and boom, it's gone. The fear is gone, and then suddenly you realize, look, there's a plan, there's a strategy, and I know where to get help and support and what to do. And that opens up a whole new universe.
Right.
Whereas the fear keeps you in that darkness. And, it's a very different kind of thing. When I do an introductory conscious cancer seminar. It's a 3-hour seminar where I go into the background of cancer, the medical part and the alternative part. And then I also give a kind of spiritual background to the disease. And at the end of it, believe me, I have conducted this seminar in all different countries, in Israel, in Portugal, in India, in the UK, in Istanbul. Every single person at the end of the seminar says, you know what, we do not have any more fear. That's a big deal. That's a really big deal. That's a shift.
Right.
To not be afraid. Because when you're not afraid, you can manage your life. You can deal with things. Fear freezes you.
Correct. And
that's when you feel completely dependent.
Right. So, Dr. Sangeeta, one of our listeners, in fact, Sangeet, I think has said this correctly. So it's basically an emotional healing that needs to happen.
No, the physical body and the emotional body are very, very closely connected. Very closely. Right. The mental is also closely connected, but not as closely as the physical and the emotional. So they go hand in hand. You can't just work on the emotional. With some people you can, but what I found is that the cells themselves need some support too, because the immune system needs some support. So that support could be in the form of supplements, it could be in the form of herbs, it could be in the form of homeopathy, it could be a variety of different things. It could be, just something simple, like I think one of your speakers was talking about touching, just feeling loved, feeling affection, because with some people, just touching them releases them of fear, releases them. So massages are also, well, actually with cancer we try to, I want to go back on that. With cancer we avoid massage because the toxins may move through the lymphatic system. But touch is important. Maybe not massaging, but touch. So it's not just emotional, it's both physical and emotional.
Right. In fact, there's an interesting question that's come up, Dr. Sangeeta, before we head into what the program is all about. Parizad Irani has asked, moving away for a moment from cancer, does this seed of thought also apply to other conditions like autoimmune diseases? And if yes, can you help using a similar line of treatment?
I use the similar line because actually it's all about the immune system right now. Everything, believe me, to do with physical or emotional is an immune system reaction. Because when change happens, imagine, okay, Nilu, I'm going to describe it like this. It's very simple. It's going on globally. imagine that your immune system is your military, it's your army. So
Is
any
my
change, sorry?
Imagine my immune system is my army. Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's your
Is my
military.
army? Is my
It's,
military? All right.
it's your
Right.
defense, okay?
Right.
So
Right.
any change in your life, whether it be emotional or whether it be physical or whether it be mental, i.e. a fear, however illusionary the fear may be, the first thing that is going to respond is going to be your immune system because it is your first line of defense. Its function is to protect you as a whole.
Right.
It's
Right.
programmed to do so. And it is connected to every part of you. Your immune system is connected to your physical, it's connected to your emotional, it's connected to your mental and your spiritual. Okay, well, the spiritual is everything anyway, so it's connected
Right.
to everything. So
Right.
whenever you will experience a change that will create a disequilibrium, because change always brings with it some sort of a new status quo. And our bodies, our minds need to adapt to that change. So your first line is going to be your immune system. Your immune system is going to react depending on how you feel. So if you feel that that change is threatening, your immune system is going to respond in that way. If you feel that that change is, you welcome the change, you're excited about the change, then your immune system will react in that way. So in that way, when you know, in the spiritual technologies, we talk about ourself controlling us. You know, in the Bhagavad Gita, it's written so clearly that, you know, you are in charge. You know, it's your chariot with 5 senses and you are in charge. That is, yourself is in charge. Right. So it depends on how you respond to whatever situation it is. If you respond in a threatened way, your immune system will reflect that. If you respond in a curiosity way, your immune system will reflect that. If you respond in a welcoming way, your immune system will reflect that.
Right.
So, it's all dependent on us as a whole organism of how we respond to changes. Whether they're financial changes, whether they're emotional, whatever change happens, everything in life is about change. The only permanence is change.
Right. Absolutely.
So it's actually our response to that change that is going to reflect on our whole system.
Right. Very, very nicely, very clearly put and explained, Dr. Sangeeta. Thank you so much. And I would definitely want to ask you, you've mentioned all these things, and the spiritual, the physical, the emotional, the nervous system, self-responsibility. It's a lot to take in. How can you help us with this, Dr. Sangeeta?
It's very simple. That's why I created the program, because you are absolutely right. It's a lot to take in because, like I said to you, it addresses every facet of one's life. And what I realized is that people need a sort of system that they can navigate through. And it should be a system, really, the core is integrity. And what I also, and I want to also share this, it's very, very important. Every physical cell in our body, how does the spiritual interact and communicate through the physical is actually through laws, universal principles. An example is the force of gravity. Gravity keeps our physical bodies on the planet. Otherwise, we would be flying everywhere. So I saw this very clearly when throughout my work that we connect with spiritual and energy through physically through different universal principles and laws. And these principles and laws, actually, we all know. But until we physically apply them, they do not become part of our system. And therefore, we cannot upgrade our physical system. So we talk a lot in Mystic Lotus and in many modalities about gratitude. Now, that's actually a universal law and principle. Now, with gratitude, our biochemistry changes on a physical level. And this has been recorded scientifically as well. So this is an example. Now, so what I did was, in the Conscious Cancer Program, I created 13 steps, and it's over 20 hours of knowledge and tools, both, where step by step, you can go through very simply these different principles and apply them every day into your own life and into your own system. And each step grows on the next one. But some people, what I've also realized very interestingly, is that people don't need to go through this in a linear fashion. They don't need to go through it sequentially, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. People come in and they start working with whatever step they resonate with at that point in their lives. They work with that, and knowledge is given, the guidelines are given, and the tools are given, and also, different instructions. So people have the opportunity to actually have a system that they can work either privately, individually, or within a group. When I've also, I've presented this on other telesummits, and there are nurses in the US that are using this program, and they're using it on themselves and also sharing it with their clients, with their patients, in maybe not a direct way, but an indirect way through the principles that they're learning. And what happens is that as you start working with this, you start to integrate your system. I know a lot of people are not very highly technological, but like when we have an integrated system, Apple computers, they love, they love marketing that they have an integrated system, because everything is integrated with everything else. It's not outsourced. Once our system becomes integrated, it becomes efficient. It becomes automatic. It becomes easy to navigate. Life becomes easy to navigate. Life becomes user-friendly. So the whole process is to integrate our lives. The whole program is based on that. You integrate your relationships and all the sort of the negativities or all the unresolved karma and unresolved baggage around relationships. You navigate and you process your physical body, so nutrition comes in, and lifestyle comes in. So if you have addictive behavior patterns, such as smoking or, other addictions, that gets addressed. If you have kind of relationship issues of, with your spouse or with your parents or children or siblings, that gets incorporated. So that's why it's a beautiful program, which really addresses every step. I know that somebody can purchase this program and they can use it 20 years from now, and they will understand something completely different from it, because it's based on universal laws. It's not based on today's ever-changing knowledge or information. It's based on universal principles which are not going to change. And the last steps of the program get you into your own purpose. So there are many people I know that go through cancer, and then at the end of it, their purpose is to help other people come through it. Or their purpose, they find out through their journey, is, you know what, I realized that I'm supposed to paint. Or I realized that, I had been stopping myself from being a musician or from working with children, and now I've realized that that's what I want to do. So these are the kind of last steps where you find out what is your purpose and how are you going to share with your community what you have learned. And through that sharing, you're going to create stronger communities and stronger biochemistry and immune system, because immune system is also very connected with our communities. Our immune system is our network of socializing, of communal interaction. That's why I said it's like an army, like our defense system, as well as our abundance system and, thriving system. So that's how it's all connected up. And of course, people always can connect with me directly and, schedule an appointment online. I have, many clients all over the world. They work with me online. And this is one of my greatest fulfillments, is to be able to do workshops, which really create transformation very, very, very quickly within that class itself. And your life changes immediately. Everybody that's worked with me, they don't have to wait, because in the workshop we connect up the universal laws with their cells, so immediately they get a change, and it sticks. It's an irreversible change.
Right. Fantastic. So this 13-step recovery program, Dr. Sangeeta, is not necessarily just for somebody who's going through cancer. It could be, as you mentioned, there are nurses who are utilizing this. So actually, anybody could utilize. You don't have to wait for this to happen for you to go through this program. It would generally help in life as well.
It's definitely. I mean, I'll tell you something honestly. I realize that some of the steps I go through myself in my life, because it's a spiral. You come out of something, and then you get into something else, and then you realize, oh my God, this actually relates back to this step. And then immediately I remember, and I go, you know what? Nobody is separate from this. Yes, this particular program came through me, and so I know the ins and outs of it. But I'm using it in my life as much as anybody else. So it's not just for people who are sick, or because, like I said to you, our immune system is at play all the time, constantly, and it brings up. Actually, it's the immune system that brings up our thoughts and our awareness of what we think and our beliefs, and how our conditionings or our beliefs are affecting our lives and our experience of our life. And if we want to change the experience of the life that we're living, we must just connect, actually very simply, with some higher laws on a physical level, and that changes the experience of our life very, very, very fast. As soon as, imagine, as soon as people start, this is a very simple example, but I'll go back. Imagine when people start using the law of gratitude. It creates a change within your biochemistry immediately. And imagine when people start using the actual program of conscience, not consciousness, conscience. That we've done experiments, scientifically, that when people they contracted a virus, flu. And we did some experiments and we found that those people who told the truth for 1 week consistently recovered much faster than people who were not focused on being in integrity with their conscience. So even our conscience connects us up with higher frequencies of healing, telling the truth, very simple things in our everyday life, just speaking the truth with loving kindness shifts our biochemistry. And this is scientifically validated, not just by me, but by many others. So when you start applying these in your everyday life, your life will change. It has to. And then it's just a little bit process of practice and discipline. And it's not difficult, believe me. It's just about us getting into a little bit of discipline. People get up in the morning, they brush their teeth, they take a shower, maybe they meditate. It's a discipline. And then after a while, it becomes automatic. You don't think about getting up and brushing your teeth. You just do it automatically. That's how this program also works with you. After a certain point, you don't think about it. You don't think about not being in integrity, and then that means that your body is actually shifted into another dimension. Automatically shifted into vibration. Physically, not just emotionally, but physically. And this is what the Buddhists talk about, when they talk about going into another body and seeing different realms and planes in meditation. Actually, that's what we're trying to connect with. And all these laws of compassion, of altruism, these are all things that when we start doing, automatically our cells start vibrating at a different frequency, physically.
Right, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, and Dr. Sangeeta, this, I generally feel right now, this conversation, it's actually, we should have had this call for at least 2 to 3 hours. An hour is not enough to do complete justice to this, and we have already gone past time, but I do have a few quick questions about the program, which I know everybody else will also want to definitely know about. As you mentioned, it's a 13-step recovery program. Anybody can use it, but as the name says, you recover your life. So does that mean, Dr. Sangeeta, that you get to take the power back from cancer, and in which case, does the cancer, does it go away? Does it go into remission? Or is this like a long-term management program?
Actually, it's really simple. Again, it's individual, Nilu. But what really happens is you forget about that the cancer ever existed. It becomes non-existent. When it becomes non-existent, it doesn't matter anymore. Life is more than the cancer.
Right. And right now you were just, you were talking about all these shifts that happen, and then it becomes second nature. So your program, yes, would bring us into that shift and into it becoming second nature for us to be dealing with things that way accordingly?
Absolutely. Not just that, but it depends. Look, where I talk about self-responsibility, it's about commitment. And this commitment is not to the program. It's a commitment to yourself. Right. Actually, it's as simple as that. Everything we do that we are interested in is a commitment to ourselves. So if people have a commitment to their own growth, to their own evolutionary process, or to new experiences and managing life, then whether you have cancer, whether you have immune system problems, you know what? It's a commitment to yourself. That's why I wanted to create a program and not people use me as a reference, use me as a guide, but don't become dependent in the sense that you've got it. Here it is, take it. Use it when you need help. Come to me because I know it so well, and I know the bottlenecks, and I know the ruts and everything. But you've got it. you can refer back to it constantly throughout your life. And it doesn't have to be just for you. You can use it with family, with different things in a group. That's what I wanted to do. Put something out there that is a system, a program. That's why I call it a program. Consciously, I call it a program because you've got it step by step. You press this button, you use this law, this is what will happen. It's a program.
Right. So the Conscious Cancer 13-step life recovery program, as you mentioned, Dr. Sangeeta, is 20 hours of knowledge in tools. Are these audio downloads? Are they video downloads? Is it a frequency? Are you talking? In what form is this download? As in, sorry, not form. In what form is the download available? What is the medium of communication in these downloads? Is it audio, verbal? Is it a frequency? What's going on?
Okay, so there's no difference between verbal and frequency, Nilu. Sound has frequency. There is no difference. So the whole, and knowledge has frequencies. The laws have frequencies. Everything is frequency, actually. So this is more than 20 hours, and it's, when I mean by downloadable, it means you go onto the website, you make the purchase, and you download the program onto your own laptop or mobile phone. So then it's yours for life. It's yours.
Right.
Okay, so that's it. It's yours. And you can work with it, you open it, and it's all based on the knowledge that I'm embedded very deeply on Sri Aurobindo and the Mother's methodologies. And everywhere that I presented it, where people know a bit of Sri Aurobindo and the integral yoga work, they recognize it. And many people have told me that, you have just continued the Mother's work because there was one disease she did not have time to work on, but she wanted to work on, and that was cancer. And so I've used the same philosophy and methodologies and the same principles as Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. And you basically listen, there's knowledge and background, then there's instructions and tools based on that knowledge and background. But there is no definitive absolutism because it's an individual journey. So what the program definitely does, and many people have told me that, is that it helps them to come not just into greater awareness, but realization. When you have realization, everybody has awareness, Nilu, but realization is physical. Then that knowledge is grounded into your physical body and it becomes realization. And that's what the program does. It gives you, when you go through it, realizations which then alter your consciousness. So it's up to you how you want to work with it. That's the freedom of the program.
Okay. So, Dr. Sangeeta, this is intense work that you've put together. When somebody goes to your website and decides to take on the Conscious Cancer program, what is it that they normally pay?
They normally pay, it's priced at $179 for the complete program, which is, it's a lot. I mean, really, it's a lot. I mean, not for the program, it's a lot.
$179 US is what one would normally pay when they would go onto your website to take this package directly. That, I think in Indian rupees, is approximately 12,000 rupees. Dr. Sangeeta, you've been so generous in sharing everything with us today, and I know you're extending this generosity to everybody who's listening in. Please let people know what amazing offer you're giving to them for the Conscious Cancer program, which normally costs 179 USD or 12,000 INR. You are giving to them at?
It's actually, it's not just a program. I think the program, there are 3 offers that we're offering, right? Can you go through them, Nilu?
Yes, of course. Of course. They're actually a combination, really. As you also mentioned in the call, Dr. Sangeeta, you also do consultancies, and people, even if you go to the website, you can see that the package is 179 USD, which is about 12,000 rupees, plus a one-hour consult with Dr. Sangeeta is about 300 USD. And this is there on her website. You can, if you go in there and see it, it's exactly that. What Dr. Sangeeta has very generously put together for all of you on the Telesummit is that you get a 30-minute personal consultation with her, which is worth $150, which is about 8,000 rupees, included into when you buy the Conscious Cancer Program, which is normally available at 179 USD, just for 48 hours, you will get it at 125.30 approximately USD only, which is about 8,000 rupees only. And in that is included a half an hour consult with Dr. Sahi. So normally what you would pay on the website directly would be about 329 US dollars, which is about 20,000 rupees. You are getting it for just 125.3 US dollars, which is only 8,200 rupees. Sorry, I said 8,000 earlier, 8,200. So that's the amazing offer, people, for 48 hours only. Not 179 USD, not 150 USD, not 329 USD. Altogether, just 125.3, which is about 8,200 rupees. That's it. 48 hours only. And after 48 hours, you still get the Conscious Cancer Program at 8,200 rupees only, or 125.3 USD only. However, the half an hour consult, which is an add-on for the first 48 hours, that will no longer remain. Have I got your offers right, Dr. Sangeeta?
That was perfect, Nilu. And I just want to add that we didn't cover right now, but the energy of joy is very, very important. And that is so magnificent in India, believe it or not. However veiled it may be, people may be like worried and depressed, but the integral energy of joy is incredible. And that is what the new earth vibration is based on, joy. Joy, love, sharing, community, all of it, the basis of it is that. So I also want to say something before we end the program.
Yes, please.
I really, really am so honored to, and I thank Mystic Lotus and the whole team, Nilu, Nidu, Amrish, all of you guys. You're doing not just incredible work, but I'm so honored to be a part of this because this is my first summit for India. And I miss India, and I really want to come back and do what I can and help and support and share whatever I have with everyone. So thank you, and great, great blessings to Mystic Lotus, to your listeners, to all of you. Peace, love, joy, prosperity, and incredible, glowing, thriving health.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your words, Dr. Sangeeta. Absolutely our pleasure and our honor to have you on our Telesummit and be the first to host you in India. And please do come to India soon. There are people on the group who have been posting messages about, I wish there could be a seminar here. In fact, I would definitely request you to spend a few minutes with them after the call is over on the WhatsApp group. There are one or two questions that I was unable to bring up during the call. Once again, just letting everybody know very quickly, you have an offer. What would normally cost you 20,000 is costing you only 8,200 rupees. In USD, it basically comes down to 329 USD. available at only 125.3 USD. We will be putting all the details into the group and in your call replay, and a completely detailed instruction and process on how you can avail and access the conscious cancer program. And thank you everybody for staying on, for listening in. Thank you for spending that time with us. Thank you once again, Dr. Sangeeta. I really wish this could have been a hugely longer call because there is just so much I know we have not covered, and maybe I've had to cut short here and there. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your knowledge. Thank you for sharing all this with us. Dear people, on behalf of Mystic Lotus, Nidhu, Amrish, and Neelu, this is Neelu signing off, and we shall see you now on Thursday. Bye-bye, and have a great day ahead.
Thank you. Bye-bye.